remote welcoming all of you to the mid-morning japa session. I thank all of you for attending this session. Please forgive me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting. Hare Krishna. Now let us move to our next part of the session, which is reading of Caitanya Bhagavata by Vrindavan Das Thakur. May I know who all have joined this morning? Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? I don't know.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Vrinda Gopika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vrinda. Koti Koti Dandavat HG Ramgiridhari Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada, all to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashamati Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna, Kamadaki Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, this is Preeti Vilasini Vidasi from California. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna. And thank you very much for your association, Mataji. Very nice association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gomadiki Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa Conference. Today's class will be given by His Grace Ramgiridhari Prabhu on Caitanya Bhagavata Adi khanda, chapter 6, and text number from 1 onwards. Prabhuji here?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for giving us very nice nectarine classes, and also utilizing your valuable time for giving us association. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. So we are going to read from Caitanya Bhagavata, chapter 6. We are starting today. From verse number 1 of chapter 6 we will discuss. So we are beginning the Lord's childhood mischief pastimes along with this scholarly Nimai Pandita pastime, which is very intriguing, interesting, as well as intimidating. So the Lord is going to perform some unusual and enjoyable, activities. So we will read some shlokas today, and then, as usual, we'll churn the content. Text number 1. Enamate kridakare gauranga gopala hate kadi divara haila ashikala. In this way, Gauranga, who is not different from Gopala, enjoyed his pastimes. Soon the time came for the Lord to begin reading and writing. Shubha Dine Subha Kshane Mishra Purandara Hate Khadi Putrera Dilena Vipravara. At an auspicious time, on an auspicious day, Jagannath Mishra performed the ceremony for beginning his son's education. Kichu Seshe Miliya Shakala Bandhu Ganam Karna Veda Karilena Shri Chuda Karanam. Then after a few days, all the family, friends came to observe the ceremony of the child's ear piercing and shaving of the head, leaving only a shika. Drishti Matra Shakala Akshara Likiyayam Parama Vishmitahaya Sarvajane Chayam. The Lord could write the letters of the alphabets after seeing them only once. Everyone was astonished to see this. Dinadui Tinete Hadila Sarva Halam Nirantara Likena Krishnera Namamala. Within 2 or 3 days, the Lord completed his study of the conjunct letters. He then constantly wrote various names of Krishna. Shloka 6. Rama Krishna Murari Mukunda Vanamali Aharnisha Likhena Padena Kutuhali. Day and night, he enthusiastically wrote and read names of the Lord like Rama, Krishna, Murari, Mukunda, and Vanamali. Shishu Ghana Sange Pade Vaikuntera Rayam Parama Shukriti Dheke Sarva Nadiyayam. The most fortunate persons of Nadia saw the Lord of Vaikuntha study with other young boys. The word Parama Sukriti refers to the most fortunate persons. Text 8. Ki Madhuri Kari Prabhu Kha Kha Gha Gha Bole Tata Suniti Matra Sarva Jiva Bole. The Lord sweetly recited the Bengali alphabet Kha Kha Gha Gha. Everyone who heard him was captivated. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namahom Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedhantam Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. First of all, thank you so much for having me in this Sangha and keeping me engaged in the service. As always, it is a pleasure to be in the association of you all, Vaishnavis or Vaishnavas. It's a interesting opportunity to discuss Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wonderful Leela. So we are beginning the Lord's another phase of pastime. Up till now, we heard about the Lord's baby pastime. Now he is becoming a boy. Not just a boy, a scholarly person. How can we restrict the Supreme Lord within a bracket of scholarliness? Is he just a scholar? Is he just beautiful? Is he just famous? No. Shad Aishwarya Paripurna Saman. This Vrindavan Das Thakur is glorifying here Gaura Gopala, Gaura Narayana, Gaura Krishna. It means that Gaura is Gopala, Gaura is Narayana, Gaura is Krishna. Jai Gaura, say Krishna, say Jagannatha. And Parasara Muni explaining about the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Lord, what makes the Supreme Lord Bhagavan. He explains that one who Shad Aishwarya Paripurna Saman, one who possesses all the 6 opulences in full. Where does those 6 opulences come from? We just finished a Bhagavatam class just before this session. The 6 opulence is coming from the Supreme Goddess of Fortune. Sukadeva Goswami is explaining Shriyam for referring Lakshmi Devi. And Lakshmi is always residing in Narayana's heart. There is no point in time she is away from the Lord. And because she is always with the Lord is always possessing all the opulences. The easiest way of explaining Bhagavan is one who has Lakshmi in his heart. Because she is the possessor of all the opulences. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Chaitanya Leela, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. Both Krishna and Radha Rani combined became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Gaura Gopala. So it is very fortunate to glorify the Lord's pastimes. So restricting him only about his scholarliness, only about his beauty, will be an insult. So all the Aishwaryas, to a very larger extent that we could think of, all the wonderful things in this world, if they are to be appreciated, they are there, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are going to turn this whole thing by some set of reflections. The first reflection is about the samskaras, We have discussed Janmana Jayate Sudra, Samskara iti Dvija, Veda Pada iti Vipra, Brahma Janati Brahmana. So, we are born Shudra. Samskaras makes us Dvija. By studying Vedic literature, we become Vipra. And by knowing that we are spirit souls and part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we actually get situated as a Brahmana. So just limiting ourselves to samskara and not doing further, limiting ourselves to up till the Vedic studies and not applying is not what the scientific, Krishna consciousness studies is all about. We have to go all the way till understanding that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and our duty is to serve the Lord Jivere Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. But the beginning of this entire journey happens from samskara. I will read some small information on samskaras and why do we generally do samskaras. The word samskara, from the word samskara, means perfect deed. It is a highly beneficial, purifying and sanctifying ceremony. Its rite rests on a series of actions in harmony with metaphysical rules that manifest the invisible reality, which our gross senses cannot perceive in the visible world. Samskaras eradicate bad karma and increase the auspicious influences of material nature. This is from the book Samskara. So, the first reflection is about the importance of samskara. There are 4 points I want to mention as a part of first reflection, as a part of samskara. First of all, the word samskara is applicable to Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Shudras does not have samskaras. They don't have all purificatory rites that as other sections would need to. So in Kali Yuga, because this purificatory rites and ceremonies are forgotten, somehow we are classified as Shudras. If somebody is taking extra efforts in practicing these rites and ceremonies, then they at least have some hopes for the next stage of the journey, which is Veda Pada. Because you cannot study Vedic literature unless you are going through some sort of a purificatory rites and ceremony. In the Gurukula Vasa, in Gurukula state, you are not allowed to chant certain Vedic mantras if certain purificatory rites are not performed. Mlechas, Chandalas, Yavanas, Shudras, in some sections, women, they are not allowed to chant certain Vedic mantras because of the way they are structured or organized. In the tree of Vedic literature studies, we study, there are different aspects of studies are there. Vedangas, Vedas and Vedangas. I'll slightly talk about little technical things. So Vedanga are classified into 6 aspects. So this is 6 aspects of Vedangas are. Number 1 is Siksha, which is about phonetic science, where Vedic mantras need to be chanted, what different sounds are, how they are need to be chanted, how they are pronounced. It is about manipulations and utilization of sound. Because Vedic mantras are always originally heard, then only they were written, mainly meant for the people of Kali Yuga. So the 6 aspects of Vedangas, one is Siksha, which is about sound. Number 2 is about grammar, Vyakarana. So how the sound combined with words combined with compound, phrases, sentence, rules, as we just read in today's things, that how Nimai very soon, very fast, he started learning the conjunction, word conjunctions and stuff like that. So Vyakarana, this grammar. Third is called Nirukti. Nirukti means I know the sound, I know the word, but I need to know the context. So the context of what this knowledge is all about, conclusive meaning, how these all are, structured together to drive home a specific point. This is explained called Nirukti. Fourth aspect of Vedanga is called Chandas. Chandas means meter. Every Veda is chanted by a specific meter. And they have to be chanted in that meter only. If the meter changes, sometimes the meaning changes. Fifth aspect is about Jyotisha, the time science, astronomy and astrology. The sixth aspect is called Kalpa, rituals, ceremonies, sacrifices, and etc. These are the 6 aspects of Vedangas. Typically in a Gurukula system, these all sciences are generally taught. So when these sciences are taught, we need to have some prior qualification to understand these sciences, these aspects. And as we just read, the purifying and sanctifying ceremony. What are we purifying of? This jiva has gone through several cycles of birth and death. Just before this human form of life, this jiva was in some other body. We are entering to a very important phase in our journey because this human form of life is very useful and meaningful. And hence, for us to do the necessary purificatory functions and ceremonies and prayas chitta, we have to prepare ourselves. The same way as we enter the altar, as we enter the fire sacrifice, we have to be pure. We have to purify ourselves. Similarly, when we are taking birth and going to perform several rites, we need to conduct some purification so that the past effect, as we just read, its rites rest on a series of actions in harmony with metaphysical rules. Nakshatra, Tithi, Muhurta, and various other, which is all explained in one of the aspects of Vedanga, which is about the rituals. What is to be done, what time is to be done, by whom it is to be done, in which way it is to be done, for a specific effect to come. These are all very wonderful signs. So my first aspect of the samskara is, this is generally recommended if we want to cross over the ocean of science and eventually take up spirituality. Okay, we will come to the other aspect of it later, maybe in this class or some other class, where what if you have not followed, what you have not done samskaras, what will happen? We'll talk about later. But in general, after taking association with self-realized souls and people, when we get to this knowledge, it is important for us to, inculcate this habit of performing samskaras. This is number 1 point. Number 2 is why samskara is done for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Supreme Personality of Godhead. What purification we need for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Nimai. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The reason is the purpose of Mahaprabhu's appearance is not just teaching. Purpose of Mahaprabhu's appearance is only demonstrating what is to be done. So here Mahaprabhu puts himself through this purificatory ceremony. Even though one of the highest philosophy that we all get to learn later, Srinivasacharya is explaining in this Shad Goswami Ashtakam, Tyaktva Turnam Asesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat. Eventually, we need to go above this, above samskara, above Vedas, above knowledge, above renunciation. But we cannot circumvent them in the journey. Unless and otherwise, there's an extraordinary arrangement. A person need not go through any of those things, but given the effect of all those things, just by some special blessings. There are some categories like that. Otherwise, in general, you have to go through this purification, learning of knowledge, then properly renouncing, serving, and eventually giving that up and only have love and sentiment for the Supreme Lord. That's the journey. So Supreme Lord, when he came as Nimai, his agenda was to show, to demonstrate that please do this for you all to understand. The third aspect of the samskara is by we performing samskara, we are accepting the lion of authority of Vedic literature, not our whimsical whims and fancies and sensual, impulses. Because then I am bound by a samskara, when I am performing the samskara, I am bound by a boundary. There are certain things that I am allowed, there are certain things that I am not allowed to do if I regularly, religiously follow the samskaras. At a right stage, I am given right protection by the mantras, by the blessings, by the purificatory ceremony, so that my journey is very nicely guided and guarded, so that I don't derail myself in this journey. So by me going through, putting myself through the samskara, I am communicating to the whole world, communicating to myself. I have some restrictions. I used to always tell this to my students. When you have to go to temple or certain satsang, or when going for initiation ceremony or something, we have a specific dress to wear, a specific set of clothing, specific set of stature that we need to conduct ourselves. Similarly, the way people go to party, people go to pubs and clubs and dance parties. They don't wear dhoti kurta, they don't wear sari, they have their own dress. Because the kind of dress, food, association, the hairstyle, hairstyle, everything has got their own specific influence on a person's consciousness. So if we are serious about in practicing a spiritual life, if you are serious about performing certain Krishna consciousness lifestyle, then it is imperative for us to put ourselves into this framework. So samskara is also to communicate myself and to all the other, that by me wearing a tilak, by me wearing a kanti mala, so I'll have to communicate. I'm communicating, sir, I belong to this and this, section of understanding. I have my own faith that I am subscribing to. So please don't expect me to deviate. I am already clearly communicating. So I'm telling myself and the society. So the third aspect of samskara is the line of authority is very well communicated and registered. And number 4, and the most important, interesting thing is that in this current context, there are the samskara that has been explained. Verse number 2 is explained. At an auspicious time, on an auspicious day, Jagannath Mishra performed the ceremony for beginning his son's education. So samskaras also teaches that everything is just not a thing. They are all conscious endeavor for a reason, for a purpose, for a mission. Because for us, everything is a thing. We just hold things as things. But when it comes to spiritual aspect, they are not just things. They are conscious endeavor, or conscious. They are consciousness. They are just conscious beings. I am not just studying just because I have to prove a point or study. I am studying because I have a conscious reason. I am performing certain Vedic rites for a conscious reason, which is to acknowledge that there is Jiva, Bhagavan, energies, and they are all meant to collate, cooperate, function together for a higher purpose. Because unfortunately, the current material education system has made us so insensitive. We use people to love things. We are starting to look at people as things, and things as something that that belongs to us. So by samskara, like education, I remember very clearly in my childhood days, we were expected, of course, by the blessings of our parents, we were given some good samskaras in our earlier days. So Vidyarambha, or every samskara that we did, even though they were done in a whatever smarta vidhi or whatever, not so perfect in the way Vaishnavas do, but it definitely had some Vedic touch. One of the aspects of the samskara was, it is not just the day of Vidyarambha, the samskara is done. I remember every year when my school year is starting, or when some important juncture in my life comes, where either I have to appear for some exams or appear for some important event, I am supposed to at least go to 6 to 7 people's house, go and fall at their feet, take their blessings. Of course, my parents and some members who were quote unquote Brahmana, senior, or some sort of an authority. And later, when I took up Krishna consciousness, I continued that. Even though I was doing some material slaughterhouse study, but I still went to all the devotees' houses. I used to offer obeisance on the first day of school, on the day of my birthday, or whatever certain important days. So what it tells is that we are not just doing things for the sake of it. We are not just trying to prove a point. We are not trying, because one of the things that Nimai Pandita in his pastime, he is going to establish, or later stage is going to implement and demonstrate, that I became a scholar and challenged several people in the process. But a later stage in life, that also I gave up. And when Ishwarapuri initiated him, wonderful context, at that time we will discuss that. He's telling, he is starting running towards Vrindavan. Ishwarapuri had to, bring him back, to send him back to Navadip. So at that time, the Lord is expressing his realizations of what is the value of this knowledge without application, without realizing the real purpose of human form of life. So these samskaras are also making us to realize there is a higher purpose of our existence. There is also these are all some conscious endeavor. So beware not to, derail, not to get digressed in the process. We remain focused, because the samskaras help us, facilitate us by the arrangement of mantra and all the other wonderful arrangements. So this is my first reflection about the aspect of samskara. So our humble request to all the practitioner devotees is, Srila Prabhupada had set up this International Society for Krishna Consciousness to make us Goswamis. Goswami means one who can learn to control his mind and senses and his life be focused for the service of the Lord. And one precursor to Goswami is one who learned to control his mind and senses. Introduction to Nectar of Instruction. In all spiritual affairs, one's first duty is to learn to control mind and senses. I'm paraphrasing what Srila Prabhupada said. And if one can learn to control one's mind and senses, everything pertaining to the spiritual knowledge will automatically be revealed. And eventually, one's attitude is properly set, eventually for us to become Goswamis. So Srila Prabhupada had set up this International Society for Krishna Consciousness to be a Brahmanical first class, creating first class men. First class men are those one who perform samskaras. But we should not, that's my second reflection. By studying the samskaras, we are not hung up as a ritualist. We have to go beyond ritualist, because rituals are limited. So again, going back to little technical stuffs, there is a concept called agama. Agama means it is something came from, moving forward from Vedas, because it is talking about lifestyles. So this agama, the reason agama is generally given is about how somebody should conduct himself, behave himself, talk, walk. So these agamas are generally taught based on matter, spirit, and controller. So who should be the controller and how the matter needs to be used so that the spirit can be engaged in certain services. This is our spiritual science, but the base of it is coming from agamas. They take information from Vedas and eventually tell us how to please controller. So different people are controlling different aspects according to the entire creation. So there are some controllers who are responsible for certain types of our function. There are some controllers responsible for digestion, some controller responsible for our talking, walking. Every aspect is controlled by somebody. And agamas are something that teaches us how to, respect, please this controller. Of course, this is subservient in comparison to the supreme controller, who is Krishna. But the reason I am telling about this agama is we are not supposed to perform these samskaras just as a ritual, just as some sort of a sentimental thing, and not hung up on this. Because the challenge of certain things is we try to take up these things, go so deep into that without realizing why these are all done. So samskaras are important, very important, and it is to be directed towards spirituality. So there are agamas called Shakta Agama, Shaura Agama, Ganapatya Agama, Shaiva Agama. Shakta Agama talks about energies, Shaktis. The reason all these things are done is these are all taught in Gurukula studies. These are all taught in typically in a scholarly studies. But by studying all these things, the conclusion is Sarva Karana Karanam Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the cause of all causes. He is the controller of all the controllers. And hence Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So my second reflection is, as practitioners we have seen in ISKCON, that we try to take up spiritualistic path and downgrade them to a religious path. We should not do that. So that is a request, even though it is not currently dealt in this context. I thought of registering it here, that our process of Krishna consciousness is spirituality, which is much, much superior to dharma, whilst dharma is underlying thing. So we should not restrict ourselves to some sort of a ritualistic endeavor. We should go beyond that. So that's my second reflection. Third reflection is about the way the Lord performing this pastime. It is explained that the Lord finished learning what generally kids take 5 months, 6 months, year, 3 months, whatever. The Lord has finished them learning in 2 days' time. In Krishna book, while explaining about Krishna's studying in the Gurukula in Sandipani Muni Ashram, after Krishna came to Mathura, Krishna was given Upanayana Samskara by Vasudeva and Devaki. In fact, they did almost all the Samskara. Even though Krishna was an 11-year-old boy when he was in Mathura, Mother Devaki breastfed Krishna. Mother Devaki treated Krishna as if Krishna was born just yesterday. And they poured their love towards Krishna and performed all the ritualistic ceremony. And they sent him to Gurukula. It is explained that when Krishna was in Gurukula, Krishna learned all the 64 arts. There's a very detailed list Srila Prabhupada is giving in that chapter if you read them. That there's nothing that Krishna was not taught. Astrology, astronomy, sword fight, everything. Music, art, medicine, public speaking, puja, vidhi, samskara, several things have been taught. But it is explained that what takes 12 years for a Gurukula student to go through all those studies, Krishna and Balaram learned them in 2 to 3 months' time. This tells Adbhuta, wonderful, amazing. The Lord may apparently perform actions like a normal person, but to differentiate, to tell us how he is not normal person, how he is just performing to teach us. He is just performing and showing. Otherwise, it's all not required for him. When he was challenged by the Mayavadis, he was sitting outside and hearing their discussions on Vedanta for 5, 6, 7 days. Finally, when he was called to speak, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu questioned all the aspects that they spoke about. They were all surprised. They thought that he's just a madman dancing for Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He demonstrated that Vaishnavas are not somebody stupid. They know when to speak, how much to speak, and why to speak. So my third reflection hence is that the Supreme Lord, whatever he does so amazingly, so wonderfully, that even his studies, he demonstrated that wonderfulness. The way Krishna demonstrated The 12 years of studies we finished in 3 months of time. Avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashrutam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So it is amazing that we cannot imitate some rascals, some so-called materialistic men. They try to imitate. They try to, take the Lord so cheap. So these are all certain, anecdotes to remind us the Lord is not somebody cheap. Lord is not somebody whom you can comprehend and give your own versions of understanding about him. He is somebody else who need to be understood according to the pages of Vedas, not according to our own interpretation, our inference. That's why Vedic literature explains that the Lord's activities are always wonderful, adbhuta. So do the Lord's devotees' activities also. So my reflection here is that the devotees and the Lord's actions are only to be enjoyed and glorified. They need not be cross-questioned or cross-examined. I don't want to say that cross-analyzed. We can always analyze and churn them, but it cannot be doubted. How this is possible? This might be fake. This might be kalpana. So you cannot say that because this is beyond our access. They are presented by a bona fide source and presenting a bona fide information for a bona fide cause. So to adulter them will be a big, disservice. And my fourth reflection is about the sweetest part of this pastime, which is Lord's chanting of Kaka Gaga also gives everyone goosebumps or somebody, feel enchanted. What is so special in Kaka Gaga? The Lord said, why they should feel enchanted? Every kid says that. But those of you who are mothers, you will know when you are a child, the smallest, slightest, simplest thing that the child has done, it will become a news, talk of the day. When your husband comes, when your in-laws, relatives come, you talk about, you saw? My child turned, my child smiled, my child giggled. So many things that we kind of notify. Smallest of the smallest action of the child is magnified and we celebrate. But here, not the family members alone did that. The entire Navadvip did that. The difference is, here the Lord is beloved for everyone. Everyone considered the Lord as himself. So they all had the same feeling as Mother Sachi had. Generally, when our child does, it's an excitement for the parents. And when friends comes, okay, they hear and listen and leave. They don't remember about the child. But here, all the time, everybody is remembering, talking about Nimai. How he is wonderfully performing these pastimes. How the Lord is, chanting some words. How the Lord is trying to chant day in, day out, the conjunct, and he uses the word Rama, Krishna, Mukunda, Murari. He is reading and writing so fast. So he has already established his, his position in everyone's heart. One as the beloved. Second is a very special child. And very soon, he is going to register some sort of a fear in everybody amongst his, fellow mates also. Oh Baba, Nimai Pandita is going to come in one direction. Everybody will go from other direction. Because the Lord going to extend this notoriousness is just now acquiring his skills. In a few pages, you will start to hear about what did he do with his skills? What did he do with his wonderful blessings that he has received? Of course, through the pastime. He's going to demonstrate them, perform several mischievous feats. In the form of a fear, in the form of a threat, in the form of a challenge. He's going to bring in happiness to every one of us. And he brought happiness to all those people who were there at that time. Even though they feared, even though they ran away, even though they didn't want to challenge Nimai Pandita, because he used to call everyone. He said, come, you answer this question. What is this Sandhi all about? What is this all about? What is that all about? The points that I was talking about from the tree of Vedic literature, he already knew it. So great Panditas couldn't stand in front of the Lord. That is later. But this stage that we are here, we are just enjoying his preparation for that. Because the Lord is ours. Every win of him, every success of him, we feel very happy. You see, my son, he won in the debate. He could challenge, he could win over. We feel happiness because he's Nimai, ours. That feeling of personal touch, the feeling of the Lord being ours is very important. Because if we don't consider the Lord as ours, the loss is ours. Because the Lord is always thinking us as his. That is why he's constantly trying to give some arrangement or other for us to remember him and do his service. Especially when we have said to him, my dear Lord, I love you. So it is a loving exchange between the Lord and his dear devotees that they very nicely, the small words coming out of the Lord's mouth. And the great rishis, munis, and saints, they are looking at, my God, my master, my supreme, to whom I respect. He is playing like this. So they are surprised. Somebody is excited. And very soon, some people are going to be afraid also. But the interesting aspect is, all these things are happening in a very integrated manner that tells us the culture of Vedic civilization. Because in Vedic civilization, we have spirituality integrated with religiosity, integrated with scholarliness, integrated with several auspiciousness, integrated with happiness. Sometimes these words combined, people don't accept them, that they all cannot coexist, and at least they don't believe that there can be happiness. But we are the one, at least Prabhupada wanted to demonstrate, present, establish that fact, that spirituality, religiosity, ritualistic activities, ceremonies and performances can definitely bring in happiness if they are rightly done. And that is where we are. So it is very intertwined. It was not some sort of disintegrated. Oh, now I am going to do spiritual program, morning 6 to 8 o'clock. From 9 o'clock till evening 6 o'clock, I am a materialist. That's not the lifestyle they live. It's a very intertwined. So it brings in a very important cultural learning for all of us to conduct our lives in an integrated manner. Krishna consciousness is an integrated life. Krishna consciousness is a way of life. It's a lifestyle. If we try to remove Krishna consciousness, limit ourselves to a portion of our day, portion of our life, then we are the losers. So the most interesting aspect is that when his writing also had Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Mukunda, Murari, it reminds us how our education system need to be revisited or re-energized, because that is how they all taught. Jiva Goswami and several other scholars later had given us syllabus and curriculum. Unfortunately, some of us, most of us, became victim of modern education system. For us, these all are some books sitting in some shelf with cobwebs, or some of us don't even have access to them, or we think it is all completely out of context. Harinamamrita Vyakarani teaches us alphabets, grammars, everything using the Lord's name. Those of you who have studied formal grammar, the grammar rules are taught using the Lord's name. So the reason is our consciousness has to be programmed has to be blended with the spiritual names of the Lord, that it is not spirituality is some separate aspect. So these are my 4 reflections from this current context. First reflection being the 4 points about samskaras, how samskaras are very important, that makes us complete and prepares us for our onward journey in Krishna consciousness. If samskaras are not properly performed, then probably we are not completely tuning up for the onward journey of Krishna consciousness. Now, the Supreme Lord is performing these samskaras for us to learn. And second reflection is samskaras should not be performed, should not be limiting ourselves to ritualistic or some sort of a sentimental ceremony. They are directed towards some conscious endeavor. They are directed towards some learning and conscious endeavor in the forward path of Krishna consciousness. The third aspect is how in the journey of Krishna consciousness, the Lord, we discussed about how the Lord is performing super wonderful feat. So even though if his actions and activities may look like a normal person's activities, the Lord demonstrates that they are all not normal. They are all supremely wonderful. So whether it is about his Gurukula studies, Nimai's Gurukula studies, or his Krishna's Gurukula studies, so they are all wonderful. So the Lord differentiates himself, I am Lord, by some of his actions to establish for all the demons who think that he is a normal person. So it is our duty is to spread and glorify the wonderful activities of the Lord and shield our next generation, shield ourselves from such a demoniac people. And the last but not least is about the wonderful sweetness aspect of the Lord's pastimes, where everyone in Nadia, everyone who's reading this is bringing in a smile. When you read this, naturally you feel like smiling. If you alone read, this Caitanya Bhagavata, at least every 4th or 5th page you will smile. If you can really meditate on this. Why you smile? Because you love the Lord. Oh wow, my Lord is doing this. If somebody could really imagine the scene, they will further get into this, they will get emotional. And here the Lord is not just doing some childish activities. Along with childishness, he is demonstrating the integrated culture that we are blessed with. Integrated culture that we had in our tradition, which eventually got lost, which Srila Prabhupada wanted to revive. So I want to say that let us try to learn this culture of integratedly teaching religiosity, spirituality, purificatory, and auspiciousness to be brought in life for eternal happiness. And that is made available one-stop shop place, that is our International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In a book called The Topmost Yoga System, Elevation to Krishna Consciousness, some of the earlier books that Srila Prabhupada writes, every chapter, we did this as an exercise, every chapter when Srila Prabhupada writes at the end of the chapter, Prabhupada used to claim, our Krishna Consciousness movement offers, our Krishna Consciousness movement is ready to give this, our Krishna Consciousness movement is meant for this. Srila Prabhupada kept on repeatedly saying that they are establishing this movement not for some child's play, not for some sentimental agenda, but for establishing Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So thank you so much. Shri Caitanya Bhagavata Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Gaurav Premanande, Hare Hare Bol. If anybody has any questions or comments or reflections, I'll be happy to respond.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you yet again. Always you come and give us so much. What do you say? Bring us to senses again. So that's how I feel after hearing your every class, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. This thing that you said that we get into. I mean, scripture is so difficult. Like we are in the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class, we are hearing 5th canto, and it is for some of us. it is so difficult to comprehend because we had a certain sort of education and now it is something else. So, but our next generation is also going into the same loophole, Prabhu. How do we keep them safe from not having the same kind of understanding what we had, Prabhu? Did I make my question clear, Prabhu?
Yeah. I spoke to Naveen Krishna Prabhu, or we had a meeting in UK, Avanti schools. I'm talking about 7-8 years before. Naveen Krishna Prabhu made a very interesting point at that time. It says that this education system to be completely brought back to the traditional or the expected standard, it's a 300-year project. I was taken aback. It was a 300-year project. I mean, he was trying to say it takes long time, because if you see how the current education system got collapsed, it did not collapse overnight. It happened in a very systematic, organic, scientific way. People removed spirituality from our education system to an extent that in the name of secular, claim, people have removed spirituality from the context. So he was mentioning that it is our duty to understand this part. To recreate them also will need some substantial endeavor and character, not by one person, not by 2%, but collectively several of us. And this endeavor, you will not see the result probably in your own current lifetime. If you know, if you believe, if you accept that this is a process to live or recreate the spiritual knowledge or the education system that should have been given. So probably we'll have to slog. A couple of generations need to work through this. It is not so difficult, but it is very important to have that confidence and faith in this process. Yes, this can definitely be re-established. This is my number one. So at least as an understanding, I want to bring in this. This may not solve your current problem of your current generation, but at least the direction in which, because what is currently happening is we have been programmed to think about us, our family, immediate needs. What will happen to far-fetched future? We are least bothered. At least the education system has programmed us like that. Can we think what will happen 400 years later? Prabhupada thought for 10,000 years. But can we think? Are we thinking? We are not able to think about our own selves properly. So we are giving a justification saying that, Prabhuji, I cannot think about myself, what to speak of so many other people. So let me first focus on myself, on my japa. And that's the end of this conversation on any strategic initiative towards education system revival. So hence, first, to prepare ourselves, this is a long-term agenda. Let's buckle up and work towards it. Number two, this agenda, at least by repeatedly speaking and bringing an awareness about this science is what we are currently having, is very substandard to the science what we originally had, what knowledge we have been blessed with, which are currently sidelined. To repeatedly speak about this in several awareness forums, within the family, within the society, within the community. So at least it will give us some hope. I was just talking to some of my customers today. So we were discussing that maybe a few years before, the concept of smartphones, nobody knew what is the concept of smartphones. But today, people are spending in India 100,000 rupees, 120,000 rupees to buy a gadget, whilst we were hesitant to buy even a phone worth of 5,000 rupees. So we have been programmed in the last few years, maybe 5-10 years, from 5,000 rupees somebody could spend, he is ready to spend 100,000 rupees. 20 times he has expanded his his limitation, his capability, or at least this interest to use them, because somebody has programmed that without this I will be incomplete, my lifestyle will be incomplete. So for us to even deprogram, I'm not saying about not use of smartphone or using of smartphone, to deprogram that education system is this way, to program it. Education system is supposed to be an integrated learning where spirituality and religiosity and culture, along with the lifestyle education, which is to be given, to even reprogram it, several awareness and endeavors are needed from the current generation who has at least accepted this part. And the third and most important thing, which we always say, every great glorious initiative happens in a very small capacity. Small win, accruing them, collecting them together will give us greatest win. Please start something small. I used to always give this example whenever I talk about revolution, what His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj has done with respect to his preaching initiative in Radha Gopinath temple. Because if anyone know the history of ISKCON and what all happened in the last 40-50 years in terms of both positives as well as some unfortunate episodes, the transformation, he has always done groundbreaking things. I'm not singling out only Maharaj. There are several proper disciples. Each of them have done groundbreaking, things. They were working against the wave. Not that everybody were favoring that. To an extent that Bhakti, Radha Gopinath Bhakta Samaj was started, in Mumbai Chowpatty in a single room that was not even given an ISKCON status. Now look at the kind of transformation that Maharaj has brought in. Oh my God! At every walks of every life, from corporate to government to scholarly, every forum is now starting to accept our lifestyle, our things. It's because somebody understood the long-term mission. So we always say this: you please think globally, act locally. Very efficiently, Maharaj did this. And I take inspiration from them a lot because they are, pioneers and role models. Not that we are trying to do something beyond them, but at least if we have to do something to locally, you need some inspiration. I'm not only, as I said, singling out Radhanath Maharaj, every, whether it is Bhakti Chawar Maharaj, the way he has started Ujjain project and now he has D-Land project, the way they think beyond humanly possible things and they demonstrate saying that these are all meant for preaching mission. So mission and missionary is something that needs to be in our local capacity. Prabhuji, I am just a small grahastha, sitting in a small local town in Mumbai. How can I do some groundbreaking thing? You are just part of a bigger army. There are many people available for you to support. The entire parampara is available for support. If you are ready, then you'll see support will come your way and you will be able to walk that path. So our readiness and our interest in contributing towards is enough for the Lord to come and reciprocate back. What I said is more qualitative and, but this need to be lived through, meditated upon to get an actual result. I'm not sure if I'm really making sense, but I really thought, this way of thinking is needed for us to transform. Otherwise, millennials are anyway growing much beyond, much faster than ISKCONs. So we have a lot more to catch up on. So let us try to think like a missionary. Makes sense, Mataji?
Completely, Prabhuji. I cannot agree more than that because recently I was realizing this and I have also started something, as you said, small with 10, around 10 kids. We started reading scripture and they question and then we answer. I felt that if it is done at the ground level, it will be much easier than doing it at the older age. So please pray for me and give me your blessing and also inspire every other person that we all can do at our small place, and together we can become bigger and finally we can establish Srila Prabhupada's movement throughout. Prabhu, please give your blessings, Prabhu. Thank you so
Superb.
much, Prabhu.
Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments, reflections, corrections?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, all gracious Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Thank you for a very enlightening class. I especially like how you put into perspective how important samskaras are, because many times they are neglected or ignored because we don't realize how important they are and beneficial they are for our spiritual life. So I really, really appreciate the way you put those in perfect perspective. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. August Prabhupada. In fact, one of the biggest reason we have to be thankful to Srila Prabhupada is Srila Prabhupada actually very carefully, very efficiently, very nicely, he gave this, science of Krishna consciousness to safeguard ourselves from any part of adulteration. Because these subject matters are such that if you are not very careful into this, we may get digressed in the name of spirituality. We may leave aside Krishna consciousness far behind and be doing some sort of religious activity. So, I mean, if that is why Prabhupada actually did the sequence he did. He first brought in holy name, then he brought in 4 regulative principles, then he brought in very nice sense of service and reading together. So he kind of prepared the ground and facilitated, and the glory is to all his disciples who kind of took it forward. Now that we have got a very good platform set, we are talking about all these things. If you hear Prabhupada's early days lectures, 1969 to 1973-74 lectures, Prabhupada's lectures are very much centered around only certain limited information. Of course, certain specific lectures are very intense, but now that we have evolved as a movement, as so many success stories, it is definitely important for us to, walk that path. We cannot just lose it now, because we are the hope. I mean, it's not to boast, for the next generation. And for the 10,000 year journey project that Srila Prabhupada had set up, we have a responsibility to do it. Not that if we don't do it, things won't happen. But if we do it, we are part of that happening. The same way Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you fight, then you get the credit. If you don't fight, still they're going to die. My agenda is anyway set. So let us be part of the agenda and definitely go and redeem at the time, as Ishopanishad says. Upanishad says, mantra 17 of Ishopanishad, that my dear Lord, please remember all that I have done to you and eventually give me an eternal stay in the spiritual abode. So if you have to go and make that statement to the Lord, let us do something so that we can go and ask him, please, take me in. Any thoughts, comments, other questions, or we can end the session?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, especially your class, not only a lot of classes we hear the pastimes and glories of the Lord, but, this kind of realization is very rarely to hear, Prabhu. I just remember I was thinking while listening your lecture, Prabhuji, we hear the pastimes of the Lord so much, and sometimes we feel as they are ordinary pastime. Just maybe our samskara was not completely uprooted, bad samskara, and we take very granted all the pastimes of the Lord. Means how we can match, Prabhuji, because we should engage our mind in Lord's glories, but sometimes we just take as granted or ordinary pastime, and it does not go in deep into our heart, and we don't realize this pastime are not ordinary pastime. Anything, even spiritual masters, when we hear from them also, we take so much of granted, Prabhuji, for this thing.
There is a very interesting explanation given in Chaitanya Charitamrita for this. Yesterday or Sunday, one day we were discussing about this point. Balabhadra Bhattacharya went with Mahaprabhu as a personal servant to Vrindavan. When Mahaprabhu was in Vrindavan, what happened was, there was a rumor by the local villagers saying that Krishna has appeared in Yamuna and dancing on Kaliya. So it was in the evening, night time. the whole village was gathered to see that scene. So Balabhadra Bhattacharya came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and telling, my dear Mahaprabhu, will you please give me permission to go and take darshan of Krishna, who has just appeared in Yamuna and is dancing on Kaliyahood. The whole world is going, let me also go. Mahaprabhu gave a tight slap to Balabhadra Bhattacharya. In that context, it is explained, when you hear from a relative source, not hear from an absolute source, not hear with absolute carefulness, you will accept illusion as reality and reality as illusion. I repeat, if you hear from a relative source and not hear from an absolute source and not giving proper attention to the absolute information in an absolute attention, you will accept illusion as reality and reality as illusion. In this case, Balabhadra Bhattacharya accepted the statement of the villagers into the, he has accepted them, and in the result of it is the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, right in front of him. He is not able to appreciate, not able to connect, not able to recognize him as Supreme Lord. The reality is being, perceived as illusion. And what is illusion? What was actually happening? A boatman was sitting on a boat with his lantern light. The lantern light's, glow was, seen as Kaliya's eyes. The boat's edge, the corner, conical side was seen, was seen from a distance as Kaliya hood, and the boatman was misunderstood as Krishna. So illusion was accepted as reality. In our case, as practitioners, one of the challenges that we have is we hear from an absolute source, but there are two more things that we do. We also hear from a relative source, which means we also have asat sangha. And number two, we have less attention in satsanga and more attention in asat sangha. Attention, involvement, participation, towards that. If anyone is not able to appreciate deeply into the science of Krishna consciousness, the reasoning is only one. According to me, there may be many side agendas. It is only because we had asat sangha. Because asat sangha will naturally bring in a cataract effect, will make things very haze, will make things very, blurred. So asat sangha only, that's why asat sangha tyagat, sangat tyagat satavrite shadbir bhaktir prasiddhyati. So I have to give sangat tyaga, asat sangat tyaga in sat sangha. We are not yet there because of some reason. You give family, social, business, any reason, but the asat sangha is constantly, polluting our consciousness. That is one of the reasons why I personally feel, in spite of studying this Vedic literature, very, wonderful science, we sometimes take things for granted. And the solution, the converse, the result, how do we move forward from this is Shanvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto hi abhadrani vidunotim sugrit satam. We try to learn what to do in asat sangha, how to deal in asat sangha, because we have to, because we are part of, especially as grahasthas, we have to deal with them. And to answer this, read the book called Bhaktya Loka by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He is talking about how one should learn to conduct oneself, how to deal with karmi friends, how to deal with spiritual devotees, where you should open up your heart, where you should not open up your heart, where you should reveal your secret, where you should not reveal your secret, whom to talk to, what to. So nicely Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written. So as a devotees, sometimes we think, these are all some normal things, kya badi, kya, bada hoga. So there are so many small nuances that are there. If they are missed out, sometimes the net results are not as we expected. So let us give attention to those details and try to avoid that which are supposed to be avoided, and give attention to those which are supposed to be given full attention. This is my understanding, and I'm sure there are other scholars, the wonderful devotees, they may have their own experience. Am I making some sense, Mataji?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing your experience. Yeah, that may be, yeah, that makes sense. That may be the reason, Prabhuji. Yeah, we are always, I have no faith, especially in the master. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. What a beautiful answer you just now gave to Mataji. So nice, Prabhuji. Sometimes, we accept the illusion as a truth, and truth, we just neglect it. Sometimes we don't even give our ear to listen that. We are like such ignorant and we think, oh, no, I got the answer. I know that. I know I am right. Whatever other person is telling, we try to just neglect it. We try to take the illusion to be the perfect. I don't know, Prabhu. It's like very common. So many times I get into that. And then I realized that, but it's again and again happening. I don't know, because of Maya attracts us more to go into the wrong path, or what is that, Prabhu? How do we understand?
On a lighter note, I just want to, say this. One of our friends, they came and said that, Prabhuji, आपके blessing से मेरे बेटी को, बड़े corporate में नौकरी मिल गया. Which means they came and said, because of my blessings, my daughter got a, job in a very great big, company. That, I mean, it's definitely they have been very kind and mentioning that. But I was just reflecting the amount of happiness one shows when we have material achievement. When you say the Krishna's mercy, my mercy, they got material success. I was just wondering, is that real mercy from my side, or anybody's side, or if there is a real blessing happened there? Why we have not been questioning that the same person who got a job in such a big multinational or some other place could not perform Krishna consciousness in the manner that is expected of us. Sometimes our importance, our celebration, our positioning of success in our life is towards very gross element. Subtly, we may not yet realize our attachment is always on the grossest things. Theoretically, physically, we may talk, we may participate in lectures, but subtly, when you go deeper and deeper and deeper, what is giving me happiness? What is giving me happiness is to definitely do something material, sense gratifying. It's giving me happiness. Krishna consciousness is giving me, okay, it is not fully giving me happiness. So somewhere in the heart of heart, we are recognizing, materialistic success as a success, and spiritual success is not even recognizing. I'm not saying everybody does that. So one of the challenge we as congregation need to face all the time is how do we balance our emotions and program us to know what is success vis-a-vis what is to be celebrated, how to be celebrated, and how do we position them in the context of spirituality. The reason most of us are trying to do this is because for us Krishna consciousness is just a part of life. I have other part of life. That is how we have been programmed, and that's how we have assumed it, which have to be completely changed. Krishna consciousness is definitely not a part of our life. Krishna consciousness is a way of life. Every aspect of life we need to learn. You see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, when learning conjunctions, he's using Rama, Krishna, Govinda, Murari. Why not he could write something else? And when we devotees try to do that, we are accused, oh no, child has to learn about London bridges falling down and little Johnny wherever he went. So many things have to be taught. Otherwise, he will be an odd man out. That is our presumption. He will not be an odd man out. If all of us decide that we will teach this, will he be an odd man out? He will not be. One of us will know, then we get, oh my God, what if my child doesn't know that rhyme? What if my child doesn't know this rhyme? So we are all having some sort of our own notions and so many interpretations on our own. So hence, the beginning point is, first let us try to have a very strong conviction that what we have is absolute, and we need to try to take some baby steps, get some baby step results, and each of us should support each other for that win. If we get that support, if we win, if we make some transformation. Radhika Raman Prabhu's mother, at least in 4 or 5 forums I've heard from her, that how she had worked on using Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto or whatever, literature to teach their sons English grammars. I'm saying, what is the best way? And she has compiled this book. Now we are, having at least some tools. Why not we try and move forward from that? So, as we say, before even we go and give knowledge to the next generation, we need knowledge, we need training, we need education, we need orientation, we need support, we need motivation, we need, to be enthusiastic, and we need commitment that yes, this process will work and I will walk this path. And we all need to collaborate. So I'm not sure if I have exactly answered your question, but the point I'm trying to drive home is this feeling of material success, handling that material success as a success and connect Krishna's mercy to that, and looking at Krishna's mercy for spiritual success being a second agenda or not even in the agenda list, sometimes is scary. So that tells that for us, Krishna consciousness is just a part of life. It is better than doing nothing, but we need to go towards Krishna conscious way of life. Making sense, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just one quick follow-up question. The
Sure.
class, as usual, is a fantastic, so many things we feel that we are still lagging behind, especially me, Prabhuji. When I hear your class, it's like, it's fantastic. Prabhuji, this one thing that, we connect Krishna's mercy to material success, somewhere deep down, there is a conditioning that we see that everywhere around us. In fact, at least me, I've grown up with that. And then when we come to Krishna consciousness, we try to deconditioning. We do the deconditioning that, it's not true. Actually, mercy is not just like material things. Mercy can also be sometimes, a calamity that takes you closer to Krishna. Even with this understanding, it's like, it's not that I don't know, but still somewhere subtly in your heart, you still have that thing, Prabhuji. We still connected. At least for me, I'm saying, I still connect it, If everything goes fine, I feel, Krishna, your mercy, thank you so much. We still desire that. It's not that I've been able to overcome that desire for comfort. So how do you reflect on that, Prabhuji?
No, amazing. Amazing. You made my day by making what you said. It's very important just by coming to this realization, just by this state itself. There is some sign of maturity, because to just understand Krishna's mercy can come in the form of a challenge also. I mean, whether I accept it or not, whether I want it or not, whether I feel it or not, mercy could as well be something that is not desirable for us, is itself a maturity. See, the aspect is we are in a journey, and this dialogues, these programs, these discussions, this Harikatha should be, I always, long to put the lessons that in the way I prepare myself for the classes, what is there for me to learn? Is there anything for me to learn? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu learned Rama, Ramasya Ramaha, whatever he learned all the conjunctions very fast. So what is there for me to, learn from that? Okay, one is enjoying, celebrating, wow, my Lord is learning. But there is also always something for us to look into it, go a little deeper and try to absorb something for us. So point is that this journey is a journey. Let us all keep inspiring and talk about this subject matter time and again, because then we'll get strength. If I hear, oh, Mataji is saying that mercy could be in the form of challenge, so I did not realize this. So this might inspire somebody to think. So then we'll say, oh, you see, Krishna actually gave me last week stomach pain. It was such a wonderful mercy of the Lord. We will start speaking like that. I'm not saying stomach pain should be a mercy of the Lord, but I'm saying that sometimes we will not even recognize, call that as a mercy of the Lord. it is explained. Prabhupada mentions at least 3 or 4 places that I have heard, that Prabhupada explains a person who surrendered to Krishna, for him no normal rules are going to be applied on him. He is under a special rules, which means he is under the special jurisdiction, direct attention of the Supreme Lord, which means the way astrology, the way his chart, the way his karma, the way all the quotients are going to work is going to be in a slightly different manner. So in that sense, we are in that category now. So probably we need to go through this cycle, maybe for somebody a few years, for somebody a few lifetimes, but definitely we are on the right track to get that understanding. And the reason we are not able to dive deep into it is still because of some residual viruses within us. So there is nothing new that we need to do it. We just need to do what we are doing and start learning to accept, start learning to. That is why one of the aspects that we tell in learning is, please try to learn, read, understand the life of Vaishnava Acharya saints, living as well as those who lived. Get into the nuances of their lifestyle. Get into we don't even know, apart from Krishna, Rama, Chaitanya's Leela, so many Acharyas have come and gone. Go and read their life, where they were born, how they were raised, how they studied, how they dressed, how they talked, who were their friends, how did they manage. I am sure 50 years, 100 years down the line, some of yours and all of our devotees' lives will be read by some devotees, children. And it is needed. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's life you read now. What time he got up, what time he, how did he manage his. If we read, get into the details of them, which means we are serious about trying to program ourselves. If we are remaining as a superficial devotee, and what if Krishna choose to be superficial with us? We do not like that, right? What if Krishna likes just like the way we try to deal with Krishna? Krishna tries to, on the surface level, he takes care of it and not at the depth level. Then we go and complain him. Oh, I did so many puja parts. You just did not take care of me, right? So it is important that we get into the depth of it. So keep doing what you are doing. Let us keep inspiring each other. And at the same time, when there are challenging mercy of the Lord, or the mercy comes in the form of challenges, let's support and motivate. Don't worry, never mind. Great things are coming ahead, because Krishna cannot. It is impossible for the Lord to let his devotees down. So which means if he is still putting us through something, there is something wonderful coming our way. Prabhupada writes in Teachings of Lord Kapila, Teachings of Queen Kunti in one place, he writes that in my life, businesses were going on very nicely. One fine day, everything started to collapse. I was really wondering what was going on. But few months later, I was already doing the project that my Guru Maharaj has been doing. So all those collapse of my business was actually my Guru Maharaj and Krishna's mercy for me to be engaged in my Guru Maharaj's missionary project that he gave me. Very profound statement. That's exactly how we should learn to deal with our own challenges. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Just one more question, if you don't mind, Prabhuji.
Sure, go ahead.
Prabhuji, you just said that, women in the Vedic period, I always feel that they were very much respected, much more than they are today, honestly. We feel that they have women's liberation and all is going on and women are respected, but I personally feel that they were much more respected because they had a lot of spiritual achievements during the Vedic period and in the era before that. Now, Prabhuji, why, in spite of having so many qualifications, were they not allowed to chant specific Vedic mantras? So it's like kind of.
Okay. First of all, I acknowledge the fact that women, Stri Dharma was very, very gentle and very profoundly, practiced and celebrated, worshipped. So there are certain acts cannot be done without certain preparation. Women were always treated very tender. Like for example, why women were not dealt in the warfare in a general sense. I'm not saying women never dealt. They had to go for sometimes, fight. Satyabhama went and several people went. In the general context, there are certain designated services done by specific designated gender according to their psychophysical nature and the services allocated to them. And the purificatory mantra chanting was associated with certain samskaras which is associated with men. Like for example, Janayu Dharana. Janayu Dharana is Janayu is given only to a man. I may be, having limited knowledge. There are unlimited informations around this. Probably if I don't completely make sense, you can hold me responsible, but not the scriptures. And you can ask the seniors and I'll also get corrected. But the aspect is that when you have Janayu, when you have certain purificatory rites, you are qualified to perform certain, ceremonies and activities. When you do not have those samskaras allowed to you, because of the nature way a woman is, her lifestyle is, her body is, her science is, her physiology is, her routines are. So some of them are not conducive for them, not enable them to perform certain things. Now the modern science gives another interpretation, but Vedic science had a reasons why they are, why they are capable of certain set of things, why they are not capable of certain set of things. There are certain set of things only women can do that men cannot do. Unfortunately, with all pain, I can say that it has been misquoted, mispresented, and made a revolution out of this. But actually speaking, women definitely had a very important, significant, glorious role. Their reason of them not chanting certain Vedic mantras is not their punishment or not their downgrade of things. It is only because of a facilitation and necessary enablement were not available for them because of the nature of their gender. I mean, because of monthly periods, because of pregnancy, because of certain things, they are not available for some service. And if you take up some vrata, some service, you cannot stop them. It has to be regularly doing. If it is stopped, then the routine has to be restarted again. So that was not available. If I have to take, if I taken a vrata of performing a 30 days havan, 30 days fire sacrifice, 60 days fire sacrifice, I have to do all the 60 days. But in the women having periods cannot do all the 60 days together. So they will not be able to perform certain purificatory rites. These are all some logical or whatever limited understanding that I have. I'm sure there are scholars in ISKCON with whom we can ask this question, but I am not nowhere close to this concept of women's liberation. I always considered Vedic civilization had always had women liberated only.
Yes.
They were never suppressed. It is only a portrayal. It was only how you portray. Oh, you guys wear some dhoti and kurta. You see, the way you try to mock somebody, the most glorious, beautiful thing can also be presented as something dirty. So it is purely about articulation, how somebody presents certain things. I'll end this with this point. The way Vedic system has been, completely crippled or completely collapsed is by, downgrading the position of mother, downgrading the position of teacher, downgrading the position of role model. They thought the role of mother, how you're just a housewife, or you're just a mother. So by repeatedly saying this 5 times, you think that by being a mother is an insult. So whilst mother's role is such a glorious role that you create 4 or 5 role models in the society. In those days, people had 10 children. Your 10 soldiers are born in the house, 10 preachers are born in the house. You are creating a civilization just because of just being a good mother. And teachers, the role model of a teacher, oh, you're just a teacher. If you go and ask any students, if they want to become teacher in their life, they do not want to, because teacher's role is made a mockery. Third is position of a role model. Oh, those are all mythology. So we have been programmed with this, and organically our spiritual Vedic science have been crippled. So now it is our duty is to re-erect them. So women are always liberated if they are practicing what is recommended of them. Men are always liberated when they are practicing what is expected of them. The women's liberation and the Vedic Varnashrama collapsed because of 2 people. One is men, second is Brahmanas. Brahmanas misused their power, men misused their position. Because of these 2 people, the entire things got collapsed. If anything has to be fixed, these 2 people have to be fixed. That is why Prabhupada established ISKCON to create Brahmanas and to educate men to look after the women properly. Make sense?
Fantastic explanation, Prabhuji. Something I had not heard of. Thank you so much. Danvat pranams. Hare Krishna.
Always so bad. Okay,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
It was very, very nice. I was listening, and it was so beautiful. All the answers, such beautiful choice of words. Yeah, everyone says that deserves a standing ovation.
To Srila Prabhupada, right? For sure, yes.
Oh my God, very nice, Prabhu. Wonderful. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you. Very grateful to you.
Okay, so I think we should end the session and let you all have your day, with other services.
Thank you.
Hare
very
Krishna
much,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Ma.
Vrunda Gopika Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. Prabhuji, can you please share your album with all the Bhakti Sangha Matajis? Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, I will definitely soon. Soon, working on it. Still going on. Sorry for the delay. So many things are happening parallelly, so I will try to work on it. Yes, Harita. Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and my Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees on the call. Prabhu, I was not there on the call from the beginning, but I was hearing to the question and answer session on the YouTube. So I wanted to thank you. I had a lot of questions. Previously I was attending all the sessions very regularly. So since I joined my job, I have been missing so many sessions, and I feel that I've become totally materialistic. And I always have that thing in my mind that why am I going away from the spiritual path somewhere? But working and attend, because of few meetings I'm not able to attend. So because of that, somehow I'm neglecting these sessions. I'm going away from the spiritual path. That feeling is always there in my heart. But after hearing to most of the question and answer session, I felt what I need to do. There were so many answers and clarifications from your side, which really helped me. But Prabhu, is it wrong that if we want to financially support our family, we do a job and somewhere we are missing these things? Is it something wrong?
No. I never said that, and it's not all wrong. What I mentioned and what is important is how to deal with different types of audience need to be learned. When fire is there, we need to know how to deal with fire. Is fire going to burn you? 100% yes. But without fire, can you cook? You can't. So fire is needed. Knife is needed. And several, chili is needed. Spices are needed. Everything is needed. But they have their own adverseness also. So an intelligent person is the one who learns to utilize them in the right manner, in the right proposition. What spiritual knowledge teaches you? You need to learn to eat. You need to learn to conduct. You need to learn to behave in a certain manner for you to not have an adverse effect in you. Oh, money is very important for my life. So let us run after money and money only. Leave everything aside. That's what is happening. So we need to, what we spoke, in the conclusive part of today's discussion was, Vedic system is an integrated way of learning. It is not one singularly focused. Singular focus is only Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Otherwise, everything else is integrated. In this integrated learning, we need to learn to handle different things that comes our way. You can learn, you can earn, in fact, we should become more rich, that people, want to come back and say that Hare Krishna Wale is all rich people. I'm just joking, but the point is that it is important to establish the fact that we need to know. We are taught to the children how to deal with different things, but we fail to learn for ourselves. There was a very, very wonderful article in the Back to Goddess magazine, probably 30 years before, or maybe 25 years before. I think Archana Siddhi Mataji wrote that article, if I'm right. She writes, or whoever that author was, that if I go to a doctor, the doctor tell that I am diagnosed with diabetes and I cannot eat rice. One morsel of rice is also going to be poison to me. Suppose the doctor say this, and I hail from South India and I like rice, or I eat rice a lot. So, but because I value my body, myself, my existence much more than anything else, I develop instant vairagya. I may have impulsiveness to go and eat rice, but what tells me repeatedly, one morsel of rice will be a poison to you, my dear friend, so cannot eat this. I may find for replacement, I may find for equivalent taste, but I will not, I will think 50 times before I touch the rice. This is exactly what is expected of us. Get educated and know what is detrimental and be aware of him. And if you still get yourself, be ready to have insulin. So if you are, what we are trying to do this process, educate, empower, and try to help everybody to help each other so that we can, walk in this journey a little organically. And we take our own time. That's okay. We can slip, we can fall, we can rise. Krishna doesn't have a problem. Krishna will still hold us tightly. We just need to be repeatedly coming and telling us that this is something that I should not be doing. I'm doing it. I should give up. I should not be doing. I should give up. The moment you start to enjoy it, that's when the problem is. If you always have the sense of repentance and doing it, after a point in time, you'll give up. That's what, Bhagavatam helps us. Help us to repent. Help us to do prayaschitta. So please, work on that, component. Then the rest, everything else will fall in place. Make sense?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. I literally want to come out of this cycle, like being like guilty, what I'm doing somehow. Like I need to manage things, maybe I need to learn that. So that
I need to also. We all are on the same path in a different gradation. I think this is a journey. All we need to do is that just stay put. I say this example. If you are in a train, if you know the train is going in the right direction, if you are sure that your companion or next co-passengers are sane people, if you know that the train, you have a valid ticket, valid everything, all you just do is don't get down in any station. Or don't get down for any agenda saying that, oh, somebody scolded me, somebody called me. Sometimes, I'm not sure if you have this experience in India, sometimes when the train goes through some villages, some children throw stones or some, nonsenses at us. So if you get irritated and try to respond them by getting, let me see, who are you throwing stones at me? If we get on the train, who's at last? We are the last. Train is not going to wait for us. Train will move. So there are many, many such things. People will throw stones at us. People will throw unnecessary things at us. That is all arrangement of the nature for us to become matured. Don't respond. So learn to ignore where you're supposed to ignore. Learn to get corrected where you're supposed to get corrected. Learn to change others where you're supposed to help them change. Learn to preach what you're supposed to preach. If you miss this cycle into where you're supposed to ignore, you change. Where you're supposed to change, you ignore. Where you're supposed to preach, you're silent. Then things will go, helter-skelter. Okay?
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Even like people around me, they like because now I'm into this and I'm able to tell them few nice things. So I want to maintain that momentum, and I want to spread Krishna consciousness also. But I'm the only thing is like I need to do good management. I need to learn that.
I tell this to all the students that I teach here. Please, friends, take up Krishna consciousness seriously. Very soon you will be a celebrity, because this is going to be a rare opportunity for many people. It's a rarity. Not everybody is a devotee, and devotees are nice, and devotees are gentle, devotees are loved, devotees are very accommodative. So such people are going to be rare, and rare people are celebrities. You'll be a celebrity very soon. So better practice Krishna consciousness nicely. You will be a celebrity soon.
Actually, I feel that compassion with all the Matajis on Bhakti Sangha, Prabhu. I really feel that, and I really feel very happy when I join these sessions.
Fantastic. So you're at the right Sangha. Catch hold
Yeah,
of
I
them and
literally
they'll
feel
take you
lucky
forward.
that I joined this group. Thank you, Prabhu.
Fantastic. I also feel the same.
Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So,
There was one other Mataji who started saying something. So, Sri Hari Radha Mataji or somebody.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just wanted to say Hare Krishna to you and Dandavat Pranam, and thank you for giving us your association in your class, and please be back soon to give us more.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
All glories to
Krishna.
Prabhupada. All
All
glories
good.
to your coordinators who are doing a great, wonderful service by getting all stalwart, speakers and sometimes giving us opportunities also in that forum. So it's a very great, opportunity.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanyavad. Saumati Mataji, yes, now you can wind up, probably.
okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You can become
Thank you very much,
an
Prabhuji, for your very enlightening class, and also question answers are very beautiful, very, very encouraging. And we look forward to your association again in near future.
Same here.
And please accept my humble obeisances. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namo. Ananta ki jai. Namacharya Sridhar Thakur ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Krishna Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Ramgiridhari Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Very, very practical class, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Prabhuji.
much.